Sugar and spice and open nice, kisses sweeter than wine.
When I was a child, I had a sort of spectrum of regular sweets. Favourites were lucky bags I adored, because then you were getting something special as well as a little surprise to go with your sweeties. Mojos, blackjacks, fruit salads, used to buy loads and loads of those. Sherbet dabs.
I used to like the swizzles, you know, those swizzly ones, and the flying saucer ones, and those shrimps. And I used to like chocolate tools. Do you remember them?
Sports mixtures. I used to like them. They were the fruity ones. I used to enjoy them. And chocolate tea cakes. I don't even get them anymore. They're like a flat tea cake shaped toffee in the middle. Nuggety chocolate. A toffee with chocolate over the top. Oh, I still love them. 2 for a penny.
Pennyworth treats we had.
In those little pointy bags, you've never seen them, I suppose, those little pointy paper bags with the point at the end. You had a pennyworth of sweets with your Saturday penny. That's all we had in those days.
And the smaller the sweets, the more you got, you see. So you bought the smallest sweet.
With your Saturday penny, which you got for cleaning the brass and doing things like that, you see, you split that in two. And then Saturday you bought, say, toffee apple or aniseed balls, and Sunday you bought something else, or you took it to Sunday school and gave it. Not always, mind you.
Well, when I was in secondary school, I was at Margaret Clitheroe School for Girls, which was in Ullet Road in Liverpool, and the headmistress was a nun, you see, and she had a little cupboard which led off from her office. And we used to, if we had been very, very good people, in her eyes, we were rewarded with an Uncle Joe's mint ball, which has left me with this sort of really peculiar fetish as an adult. If I'm sort of given an Uncle Joe's mint ball, I feel rather holy and good and things.
I do remember when I was very young that my father liked what he called a quality sweet. Lovell's Toffee Rex, Barker and Dobson, Callard and Bowser, all these well-known companies, that most of them are still going actually, and he preferred to have his sweets in the wrapped variety. And always a way out, we've always used scales. We don't, even now, we don't sell pre-packs. Customers seem to like, they come in and say, you know, oh, I've seen sweets in jars for years. So he had a great sales pitch. Well, it wasn't a pitch, it was genuine. I mean, he could really sell a box of chocolates. He would ask people, I mean, he'd often get them to sit down. I mean, they'd come in to buy a box of chocolates and they'd sit down and have a chat about the quality and on the presentation and so on. And I remember as a little girl, I used to love to sit in with him when he was talking to reps. And they used to have beautiful boxes, cases with trays and the different varieties that were in, and we always sampled them. It was a much calmer, quieter pace of life until the war came. And then it was totally different because there were a lot of soldiers stationed around here, and the whole tenor of trade changed. And then, of course, there was rationing and zoning, and you were given allocations of sweets.
We're making rosebuds. It's a very old-fashioned sweet. You stand by, I'll pour it out first and then you can scrape it after, all right? If you want to slip it in first. All right? And then the flavour goes in. It's a nice fruity flavour for them. My grandfather was born in 1881, and when he was 11, they went to America. So they went in America, and it was bad times in America. The Depression was on. So they came back, and they came back to Aberfan and Aberdare, and they started making sweets again in Aberdare. And then my grandfather, then they had stalls in markets. They had stalls in Aberdare, Merthyr, Pontypridd. And then he met my grandmother. She was on a China stall. Her father was a big China merchant in town. So they eloped when they were 18 to Pentacaiba and got married. He was sick of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to work for his father, making the sweets. So he set up in business then in Merthyr, and he was the Merthyr Express Confectionery Company. My father and my uncle used to do this before they went to school in the morning. They didn't have a newspaper around. They had to turn the handle for their father. He used to get them up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then they'd make sweets then till about, turn the handle then on and off till about 9 o'clock. And then they could go to school. And invariably they were late for school. I used to come in here sometimes with my grandfather after he retired and use the machines and muck them up.
I don't think it sort of made much impression what he did. I never thought I'd end up involved in it to this extent of actually making the sweets or helping him make the sweets. And sort of running the thing, just the two of us, because at one point there were so many members of the family involved in it. And of course, as they got older, they retired. His grandmother never retired. She died in the 90s, still in harness. When she died, then the younger generation, sort of the previous one to us, retired. And we've ended up holding the fort, the two of us, and a couple of girls in the factory to help out.
It's run basically as a hobby with us now. It's something to do, put it like that. Okay, it's not a desperate commercial proposition with us. No.
It's still our living, but
it's only just our living. You see, so. But it's, as my son says, it's only something for you to do when you get up at bed in the morning. Just get you out of bed, he said. We were employing over 30 people once, but it contracted with the family retiring, and we sold a lot of the shops off, and times changed. The businesses in the valleys dwindled. That was a big thing towards it, you see. And we decided to make it as small as possibly we could, so that we could handle it on a day-to-day basis.
But if you expand to the point that you've got big factories and sort of all automated, the sweets don't taste the same. The machine hasn't got the experience. It can't alter things according to the weather or the time of the year. It's always churned out the same. When it goes in one end of a conveyor belt and comes out the other, and they seem to lose the character, the sweets, then.
He's going into theology, so he's not going to carry on in the business. My two daughters aren't going to carry on either. They're both married. Somebody come along in the end, and with sugar boilers' hands.
Our flavour library, which is around about 2,500 products at the moment, is the sort of main strength of the company, and that is really what Duckworth is about. We get inquiries from all sorts of sources. Probably the most frequent is from customers who have spotted one of their competitors producing a particularly good product, which has, let us say, a strawberry flavour in. And they approach us saying that we wish to make, let us say, for example, a boiled sweet that tastes like product X, Y, Z. Can you do something to help us? And the short answer is almost certainly yes. The origins of the flavour industry go back to sort of almost medieval times, which has been the consistent search for new flavors. I mean, the origins of the spice trade. But in the earlier days, in fact, in the early Victorian days, flavors were largely a byproduct of the pharmaceutical industry, where in fact they were developed to disguise the pretty evil taste of some of the medicines taken in those days. In logical terms, there are probably very few new flavors, in fact, being developed, because most people have got as probably a wider spectrum of flavors as they're ever likely to meet. What we are attempting to do as a flavor house is to produce totally consistent flavors, and bearing in mind that our raw material base frequently can vary, particularly if it is crop related. And there is, I suppose, some sort of analogy here, in fact, with wine. Because what the consumer wants is a totally consistent product. To take a strawberry flavor, analytical techniques, modern analytical techniques, have identified between 300 and 400 chemicals made up within the strawberry flavor itself. Now, the role of the flavorist is to take the key elements of those flavors from whatever source, those ingredients, those chemicals, and attempt to replicate them. And that really is what our job is all about.
The companies in those days were run by confectioners who had served an apprenticeship in sweet making and in fact did most of their own development work themselves. If you look at the mainstream products of most companies, they were developed between about 1910 and 1930s, and since that time the development has been largely evolutionary, so that we have been concerned with flavours, introduction of new flavours, possibly modification of raw materials due to changing circumstances, and perhaps different combinations of products. But in terms of confectionery technology, nothing really is new. Coloured and Bowser toffees are virtually the same now as they were when they were first made. They are made with natural food ingredients, virtually the same ingredients as you can buy in the supermarket. They may be delivered in large quantities, but they're the same materials.
I think it's very important for us to understand what will make toffee appeal to younger people. Clearly, toffee is quite a traditional product. It's been around in its current form for a long, long time, and therefore older people will be very familiar with toffee and enjoy it. But we need to develop new ideas that will appeal to younger people. I mean, this is one, for example, Toffs. It's introducing toffee in a new format, in a more like a chocolate bar, so it sits on a chocolate bar shelf in a sweet shop. So perhaps people who wouldn't go to the shelf to buy bags of toffees will pick up a new sort of toffee. The toffee itself, we can change, we can make it softer, we can put more different ingredients in it to improve the appeal. And I think that's an important way to make sure that toffee is around for a long time in the future and continues to grow as a product category. The confectionery market, sweets as a whole, are growing consistently year on year. We actually saw 3 to 4% growth in sweet sales overall over the last year or so. It's that kind of market. It's got consistent appeal to the general public and continues to have so. We do an enormous amount of research. It comes in all shapes and forms. We do research on specific product ideas to find out whether people will like them or not. We do research on the market as a whole to identify new opportunities and what things the consumer are looking for in the future, so we can anticipate what will sell well tomorrow as well as what's selling today.
sweets now, you're not buying sweets. No. I was going to bring them this morning.
We try and give a selection that covers what our community here, our general public want. The youngsters, we've got quite a good selection of the penny and tuppenny sweets and threepennies and so on. We've been here 43 years, so in that time there's been so many changes. The tourist side isn't quite as busy as it used to be, and therefore we've had to change over onto bread and butter lines, and of course confectionery has certainly fitted the bracket there. We've increased our trade tremendously by introducing confectionery.
Kit Kat, Mars, Twix are the top three, I would say. Your cheap sweets, your penny sweets. We have a chap that calls, and we call him the 1 to 10 pence man. Yes, that's the stuff that goes, the 1 to 10p stuff. Jawbreakers, your really unusual stuff, your bubble gum. Kids love the bubble gum.
I think so, just try it.
And the bubble gum that's shaped like hamburgers and things, you know, the different stuff, yeah.
We have about 4 residential homes, you know, 1 nursing home and 3 residential homes, and they're free if they're able to go about and do their own shopping. And they're the ones that are regular shoppers. You know, it's their little goodie. You know, it's their little luxury which they enjoy.
And you know, when they're coming into the shop, coming to the counter, you know exactly which jar to go to. You know.
Kids come in here before they go off to school, and they've got their dinner money. They've got £1 for dinner money, and they've spent it on sweets.
I've always had a soft spot for mints. No, I've still got my own teeth. Although the dentist tells me it's the worst thing you can for your teeth.
Sit back and enjoy the ride. You're almost there now. Okay, shall we have a look and see what we've got? We know that the frequency of eating sweet things keeps the level of acid adjacent to the tooth high. You get a constant bump up of the level of acid throughout the day if you're eating constantly. So if you can eat just 3 main meals a day, that's only 3 peak times when acid might attack the teeth. Well, I think it's important that parents realise that a child can't really clean his or her own teeth until they're about 7 or 8 years of age. I've got 4 boys, the oldest of which is 6, and I still clean all their teeth myself once a day, so I know I've done a good job. And I often advise a mum who's got a 4-year-old and they've perhaps neglected tooth cleaning. If necessary, they get the child in a nice friendly headlock in the bathroom every night and clean the teeth. You have to start young. You really have to start cleaning those teeth as soon as they come through. Grandparents are always looking to reward their grandchildren. It's perfectly understandable. And the trick is, as a parent, to find a formula which will let the child benefit from the reward given by the grandparents. The grandparents know they're benefiting, while at the same time reducing the potential damage to the teeth. And there are 2 ways of doing it that we recommend. Restrict the rewards, which are usually sweets, cakes, biscuits, to meal times, or get a biscuit tin, a metal one, fill it full of the rewards as they're handed over throughout the week, and then once a week, then allow the child access to the contents of that tin. They can eat as much as they like. The trick is, as I said earlier, it's to reduce the quantity of the sugar-containing foods and also to reduce the frequency with which they're eaten. It's unrealistic for me to expect anybody to avoid sweets. But if we can cut down the quantity and cut down how often they're eaten, you've gone a long way to protecting teeth.
A lot of the products remain the same, but there have been, I mean, sometimes you see certain ones that you haven't seen for many years, perhaps. But as a child, they were here all the time. We didn't eat a lot of chocolate and so on. But a lot of the names are still the same. But the people who buy them, you know, we get regular customers and think, wouldn't they like a change for once? You know, wouldn't you like something else for a change? But no, they stick to what they actually enjoy. You know, you can think of regular customers. One lady buys half a pound of toffees every Monday, and the gentleman buys a pound of Mentos every Friday. Bert comes in for his hair drops every Saturday, and we make absolutely certain that we don't run out of these things because regular customers are very important.
Do you want your porter?
The older generation, when they come in, they see all the jars, which immediately takes them back. And they sit and have a coffee maybe, and you see their eyes start to wander around the room, and their eyes light up, and they hit on a jar that they haven't seen for, you know, a generation.
Yes, what they usually say is, oh, we haven't seen sweets like this since we were children.
That's right.
We don't see them in jars, and of course we've made a bit of a joke of it to say, well, somebody else must be buying them because I'm sure the companies are not just producing them for us. And they'll stand outside the window for ages and go, ounce of these and an ounce of those and an ounce, and yes, you put them all in a bag and they've spent their 25 pence and they've gone off quite happily.
So I see the tastes of the generations changing as they're growing up. Like some of the ones who were teenagers, maybe early teens a couple of years ago, are now sort of moving into the 53 pence a quarter margin and really getting more expensive tastes. The biggest change that I think that is going on is the fact that companies are moving towards pre-packaging, and it's quite sad really, because I mean something like a place like this will die out eventually if they have their own way, and it just won't exist anymore. They're trying to tell us that people don't want jars, but I mean you see people's faces when they come in, and they have, the comment I get is the personal service.
It is giving people a service. You don't just grab a bag down and say, oh, you know, go over there and take it yourself. It's none of this self-service nonsense here.
The real appeal, I think, is pleasure. It is a touch of luxury, but the real appeal is to give pleasure. It is in giving, it is in seeing, and it is in eating. It's a combination of all three.